And welcome back to Wall Tactics. We're here with another Wall Wednesday, boys. But this time, the points have come out. The point changes have been revealed. The Minotaurum field manual is out. So the Orks have now been given a new breath of air. The rise of the green tide has come, or has it? So we're going to actually look at the actual position of last weekend, how the Orks ended before these point changes have just been revealed. How are we doing? And see if these point changes coincide with the ones we wanted, we were hoping for, and what we expected, right? Well, not expected isn't a good word, right? Because you never can expect anything from GW. But we're going to also look at what performance were from a few people, and then I'll give a few of my insights or ideas looking at these points. I'll probably come out with another more concise video, as these videos don't always get watched by everybody. So we got a lot to discuss today. I'll try to keep it to about an hour or whatever, as I normally do. But like boys, we're here for the stats and the facts. But first, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, the Baron of Dice, as they help us do our paint competition and provide dice for our paint competition winners. Of course, we get the a 5% discount in the description. So of course, use that because nobody likes taxes. So shout out to Baron of Dice and our paint competition winners. So with that being said, guys, a few things I want to say. We should be happy for what we got, and I will start off with the points. So let me pull this out real quick. Boom. Okay. A few notes here that I could take. Damn. See. Okay. I see you guys in chat as well. So say what you got to say now, guys. Shout out to everybody. 5 Wall Tactics memberships. War for Murder Mouth. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Very generous of you, homie. Thank you very much. Shout out to you. I know you're happy. Megan Knobs coming down for sure. And shout out to Brandon Bungett. Thank you, buddy. Whoa, for a new member. Let's get it stuck in, lad. So thank you, guys. So here are the points. A few things that I want to give a shout out to right away that, you know, a few of these things really caught us off guard, right? So a bit of the pros. Battle line getting such a huge buff. Who would have thought that GW would drop points on boys and Beast Snagga boys? I've been saying since Index Hammer that I'd love to see the Beast Snagga boys come down. It was just hard to justify because they've always been doing good. As Beast Snagga boys plus the Beast Boss combo is arguably, if not our best combo, one of our best combos that we have. So Beast Snagga boys coming down kind of blindsided us, a lot of the Orc community and people as a whole. It's awesome. Beast Snagga boys allow you to get that nice strength 6 on the battlefield, a built-in 6-up, feel no pain, putting it under 100 points. Here we go. Just running a straight-up 10-man unit of Beast Snagga boys will feel good, or maybe even a 20-man unit as we look at that. Boys coming down 5 points. I don't think that's enough for Green Tide to suddenly come back to life, but there is more to come possibly, as GW did announce that there are going to be rules that they're going to be looking at in around December, right? From what I understand. So chat, tell me if I'm wrong around that. Another good surprise was kill rigs, right? I would say this data sheet that caught me the most by surprise is we've seen like 70% of what we kind of thought we were getting. 70%. That's a bit of a catch, right? We've seen a good amount of units that we expected to see get decreases, and then we've seen some that really blindsided us. Kill rigs are another unit / hunter rigs are another unit that kind of caught us off guard because they were already in play. Right? People would say, well, wow, they're good now, but really bring them. They were already pretty solid. They were performing a GT level performance and actually holding up in War Horde constantly. So the fact that they've come down now, they've actually gotten to the point where they're just straight up points per wound. Great data sheet. You're getting 135 points even for a hunter rig with 16 wounds and a feel no pain. That just works, guys. That just works, especially if you're playing smaller games, league games, whatever it may be. A hunter rig can just straight up work. Like I said, Beast Snagga boys coming down alongside of it. Of course, the kill rigs are the real standout at 155 points. Not to mention points per wound coming down. Def Coptis is pretty excellent. We needed another unit that we could consider putting into Deep Strike, but something that would actually survive and not simply be overwatched by like one flamer, right? There'd be like one flamer in the unit and then a couple random sporadic shots, and your Stormboys would come out like, oh, they'd come down from ingress and get overwatched, and you're like, all right, that was a waste. I shouldn't have done that. Of course, we're going to talk about how to play better with Stormboys. Yet that said, Def Copters are the real thing that are only give us the only other option for an inherent Deep Strike that's on the data sheet, right? So we like to see it. Good amount of wounds. Hold up. Definitely the slaps like a wet paper bag, right? Doesn't even have AP in combat. Hate to see that, but really like to see that they got some love. Things that we did expect to see and are happy to see, still talking about the pros, are the walkers Gork, Death Dreads, Mork. We love to see that, as Dread Mob was something that was trying to contest with War Horde, right? We know that War Horde is just obviously the best way to play Orks at the moment, or it was at least while we were down and out, because it's just an inherent very good detachment set of rules for Orks and stratagems. But Dread Mob was at least being interesting to Orks. It was at least giving us some life and alternate direction, giving us some combined arms factor. So we thought hopefully GW help us with this Dread Mob thing, and they kind of did. You know, you can even argue that a Gorkanaut is kind of like a battle wagon in some ways, right? He's running to the middle of the table at times, dumping some dudes out into the objectives for just another 105 points. You can, instead of taking a battle wagon, take a Gork. It's going to be kind of fun, right? Or even take multiple of these guys. Meganobs came down in points. We'll talk about that in a second. The Big Mech. So the Big Mech is the new stunner coming out of here the last couple weeks, with Brian Sepp showing off and showing out what they can do. Let's see if some more people can make them do something in War Horde. But speaking of War Horde, you know, has GW, you know, this put more of a gap between War Horde and Dread Mob? You know what I'm saying? As we were slowly, Dread Mob was kind of making its appearances. I would show 3 lists Dread Mob, 1 list War Horde, stuff like that. Yet here we go. And this point changes really gives benefit and credence to War Horde, in my opinion. Of course, Walkers, like I just said, did get the buff, but the tried and true combinations and units that were already hitting and already being put on so many lists came down in points, which we didn't see coming, right? But we do like to see other things coming down, like these commandos that came down. We love to see commandos coming down as they were a tool, utility piece. I did suspect they'd only come down about 10, 15 points because GW is going to be so cautious with them. Guys, I think they should come down too at heart. I definitely do. I understand why you might feel that way too, looking at other armies with their infiltrators and with their Constar. But remember, the fact that commandos can just straight up ignore Overwatch means that it can become a strict, nasty, hard skew against certain armies like Tau, Guard, whatever. You could just bring 3 units of commandos. If they drop down to something like 100 points, auto take them in your list, and you just hard countered most armies in the game because they can't do anything to you. And you can just walk right into their face if you go first. It's a very weird place to be. So GW is, you know, handling it very tactfully. And then another thing I just want to shout out is, of course, the War Boss wording got fixed. It's now all the same and similar. It's while your wall is active, meaning that so once you disembark, it's an active rule. Therefore, your War Boss will now get inactivated, and he'll go in there and start getting stuck in with his 4 punches as he should have accordingly, and as the War Boss should have with the 3 damage as well. So we're glad to have that back. We should have never lost. So I'm not going to give you too much credit for that, GW. So then we have secret missions actually getting hit. Guys, I'm going to give myself a little credit here, a little tap on the head. Good boy, right? You can watch videos from as soon as Prime Nexus dropped and secret missions were announced to how they were being played. I said I did not like them. And I said it gave people too much ability to play late game catch up and not really interact with you in ways that felt really good, or win games that felt really good. Of course, I was strictly, you know, giving the orc perspective because I don't like to generalize for all of 40K, but I did strongly stand on that point and say I didn't like how secret missions were right off the bat. A lot of people were like, oh, I like this. This is really cool. And then now they're like, GW, you guys should have nailed that. Well, let's get some consistency here, guys. I know why you were excited, but we've been over this before. We hate as a community when you don't have to interact with me for all the turns to get the win. And being able to stack up points at the end of the game doesn't feel good. But is from the Orcs point of view, because that's what we care about more, is that we don't like trading all of our bodies and our for you know, as for attrition for points, as we like to talk about with Mr. Jim Jones. Shout out to Mr. Initiative, right? We were speaking about this in our chat. You trading bodies for points, secret missions felt horrible when someone could just put up, you know, 30, 40 points at the end and just be like, yeah, I got you. And you're like, what? I just played 4 or 5 hard turns getting into you, and you just sat back and just late game scored. Didn't feel great, especially with, you know, uppy downy armies with Hypercrypt and Grey Knights and stuff. So we don't love to see that. So, but with all that, I will say this. It does look like we're headed in the right direction. Maybe GW is listening. Maybe. Maybe they just got lucky while swinging in the dark. Now, the cons, because I like to be consistent here, meaning I'm not going to just be a shill and say I love everything, because I don't. Therefore, a few cons I want to point out. No squig love. Hey, man, I know they need more than simply, I would say they need just 2 points. They need to be handled kind of like the Gray Knight, Dread Knights, right? Where they were just straight up adjusted per their data sheet. They started to ignore cover. They were given additional AP. Bam, bam. They did their job reliably. They provided fire support, combined arms for Grey Knights. Squig Hog boys need to just be straight up touched and be given additional AP. Maybe it's on the wall. Maybe it's on the charge or something, right? You can do something if you're too scared of it, GW. But you could. It was for certain missions that you could do more on the secret missions. By the way, certain missions you can cap beyond the just 20 points, by the way, in chat. But it didn't feel good nonetheless. So Squig's not getting any love and just needing straight up adjustment on rules, as they need more than just points coming down. But you could have just done that in the here and now, right? So that Squig Hog boys can be more useful, more viable. Even in 3-man units, they can be skirmished. You could drop the Maz down so he could be considered independently taken. You could have dropped the Beast Boss down on Squigosaur on his own down, so that the enhancement for Edwappas could be given freely. There's certain things that could have been touched on the Squigs that I think would have been not over the top, which at least make them considered, right? At least considered, or not feel so bad when you're bringing them anyways, even if they don't bring us up like on the peak scale, right? For the general 40K player scale, which is what we like to look at here when people say, well, watch out for stats. You don't need to hit the general stats. They're not that important. They are important to us because we care about the general 40K player base as well. We don't want people to be stuck and gatekeeped out of playing their faction because it's too hard and stringent to play. When something like Squigs are just really hard and stringent to play, and they're, in the Combat Patrol, they were in some of the Battle Force boxes that came out. They're what the common average baseline beginner player usually has at their disposal. The fact that they're not doing their job and they're being missold that this is your anti-tank unit means don't leave them untouched like this. In my opinion, it was kind of unnecessary. Another thing is tank busters being brought down in points. That's just kind of funny. You could have just done nothing, right? Because in reality, you need them to be 50, 60 points for us to really consider them for like a SWAT team. Maybe at 90, I can, someone will humor them. But they're just not written correctly. Luckily, we know they might get a new rule, new data sheet as a whole anyways. A few more things that I want to point out, just speculation, right? Because points just came out today, is that Def Dreads and Mega Knobs didn't come down enough. Right, Dev Dreads need to come down probably another 10 points. They're very easily just chopped down and shot out. They're not really doing their offensive damage reliably either, because most of their profiles are just AP -2, meaning either something's getting cover or armor of contempt, yada yada, and they're hard to deliver. Their data sheet ability doesn't necessarily even go off, and if it does, it's kind of unreliable, as a lot of people have good leadership. Therefore, it would need to be a -1, right? So there's a lot of reasons why Def Dreads could come down. It's okay though. It's not like I'm hurt or anything. It's just we would like to see that. And Killicans not being hit right alongside there. It's like, Killicans are right on the cusp, guys. I'm telling you, of being useful. They could come down a little bit, of course, like we've talked about before. But Mega Knobs coming down just 5 points, I don't think that's enough. Don't think that was enough. I've said in the video prior to this, it needed to be 10. 10 points just straight up per model needed to come down. Oh, my thing's still up. Oops, sorry guys. Let me take that down. Boop. Thanks for shouting that out, chat. So it needed to come down a little bit. Mega Knobs need to come down a little bit more. And like I said, Commandos maybe need to come down a little bit more. Pain Boys staying at the current cost that they're right now is just outrageous, right? Pain Boys are just overcosted. They're still paying the price for a Green Tide running over the meta. GW didn't even touch that either. That's another reason why, yes, boys did come down, but stuff like your Storm Boys aren't really thriving. Your Pain Boys aren't really thriving here at 80 points per model. Stampas, yes, guys, Stampas did not come down. GW could humor us and make him come down like 50 points, and that would be fine, in my opinion. Yet if you go to like 600, I'm telling you guys, they're never going to do that. Don't expect that. Stampa's been about 800 points since 8th edition. They could humor us though. Shout out to GW 750, so we get the mech for free. That'd be pretty awesome. And then just all no buggies getting hit yet, as I alluded to either, right? because buggies weren't hit, because um, other things like squigs weren't given points as much as I thought they should have. It really made me think that uh, GW might come in here and actually start adjusting rules. So that's me being hopeful. That's me being optimistic. You know, I'm not. I'm not mindlessly just going to assume that that's exactly what's going to happen. Not trying to spread rumors either. It just gives me a little bit of speculation, which is what we do around here, right? As Warhammer lovers, enthusiasts, and players, is we look at these things and we go, well, GW, you know, Squig Hog Boys aren't where they need to be. You know, uh, Cultist Speed is doing kind of weird and not really playable right now. Why wouldn't you hit any of those units? Well, maybe because they decided they're going to just reflect and actually change the rules instead of just going and hitting everything in points wise, right? So, with all that being said, I'm gonna give this point changes right off the bat. Look at it, you know, because I've been at work, so it's not like I get to dive all in all day. But I would say it's about a 6.5. I would give the rating on the points for Orks. Yes, I'm being honest, it's 6.5. I'm including the War Boss change as well. I don't give you much credit, GW, for the War Boss change because this could have just kind of happened, right? You didn't have to make such a silly ruling and then leave it for so long. So I'm not going to give you love for that. Love the secret rule mission changes, but for just straight up points for Orks, it seems like you were still pretty hesitant. But you did reinforce units that were already good. Therefore, you were like, all right, this is what you rely on. These are what working for you. Therefore, we're going to make sure you could take more of this and then fill in the rest. Yeah, you were still a little bit too cautious on some of these things. And, you know, we'll see what is yet to remain. Therefore, I'm still optimistic. The War Boss keyword changing is huge. That way we can actually dismark from transports and punch people up. So that's really nice. Right alongside with the fact that kill rigs are going to be great. So you're going to have battle wagons, kill rigs, trucks, all on the battlefield at the same time. Therefore, we should be able to see a lot of these combined kind of units, and Orcs should be just stomping things out by doing that. With that being said, let's talk about people who actually did get stuck in and stop some gets out this last weekend, as we have Jasper Bisky. He was at, oh, I should pull this up right here. Sorry guys. And I'll read chat's actually right here before I get into this. Let me just show off who this is. We have Battle Salvation GT. This is in the USA with 123 players. So pretty large event. And he did great by going 5-1, ending up in 6th place. And one loss he did have was to the person who actually won the event. So we'll take a look at Jasper's path to victory, a few of the data sheets that maybe might have been important, and kind of just get a feel for how this get did. But let's talk with the chat real quick, what chat said. Some of you guys in chat, Brandon said, we made out like bandits. I like that. I like that points. I like you guys are hyped. You should be hyped. I'm really hyped for Snaggers coming down, right? Who would have thought Snaggers would come down to 95 points? And kill rigs, are we bringing triple kill rigs all of a sudden? A Gorkonaut's fantastic. You could even argue a Gorkonaut could go on a War Horde. I freaking love that. I've got 45 more points now for Crumpin. Yeah, and I do think even 45 points for us feels good. That's another Grot unit. Let's see if anybody's saying anything in chat that I want to hit real quick. Your kindness doomed us. Are you talking about me? Oh, you're talking about murder because I had the chat up. My bad, man. And Jim Jones, what's up, Mr. Initiative? He said, heck yeah, dude. We just talked about some of these units need to come down on points, and here we are. Yes, we are. And I still think more could come. And we got 3 kill rigs. 3 kill rigs is the meta, right? 3 kill rigs and 3 hunter rigs, something like that. 3 kill rigs and then battle wagons. You could just start getting all over the place. 3 kill rigs and 6 trucks. Like whatever get Orcs gonna do. Orc players are gonna be outrageous no matter what. He sent me your shout out to Baron of Dice is my favorite part of the video. That's hilarious. That's lovely. And of course, we got my boy Eka for 5 wall tactic gifted memberships. Whoa, thanks you get for that. I greatly appreciate that. Let's get some War Bosses emojis in chat. It can either be Gaz or a War Boss in chat. For my boy Ecop, always supporting the channel. Thank you very much. You get a very, very generous of you. And of course, he wants to follow that up with an 11-month super comment saying triple kill rig. Anybody? Yeah, whoa. That's what I'm talking about, boys. We're going to be running triple kill rigs. We know Gits are going to be doing it. We're already running 2. I love it. I love it. They help you break so many thresholds and strength, which is +1 to wound essentially, and we love to see that. And then someone else says, busted on my tourney list, gained like 100 points. There you go, Dev Coptos. Let's go. And then what do we think about the Gorkon? I love it. So let's take a look at my boy Jim Jones. What's up, Jim Jones? Let's take a look at Jasper Biskey going 5-1 with his War Horde. And I want to follow this. It was a little hints before anybody who's watching this. The list I have to show after this is actually a little bit of a peek into the future, because the get in the next we're going to cover after this was already using things that were getting touched, and in a combination that I think is going to be interesting for us to look at going forward, knowing the new point changes. But Jasper is kicking it old school with this very reliable, and if anything, even stronger list of War Horde that we're going to be looking at right now, because this point got a bunch of this list got a bunch of decreases, or at least some decreases. So we like to see that. We have 2 beast bosses, one with Follow Me Lads, a Death Killer War Trike with Super Cyborg Body, kicking it back to Index Edition right there, boys. Gazgul Traka, and then 2 war bosses. And then our Git has 2 units of Beast Snaggle Boys, one of them being a 20-man unit. Guys, I think that 20-man unit is going to be happening more so now than ever with the points coming down. I very much advise that you guys give it a try, especially alongside Gazgul. Guys, that thing just blends through anything that is sitting on a 3-up, 4-up save that's getting hit in War Horde on the wall with Gaz Lethal Aura. You're just blending people down with the Unbridled Carnage, re-rolling hit ability from that 20-man unit cannot go wrong. And I love how cheap that unit is now, because the contestation used to be how much more expensive you were than the boys. Of course, the boys can add a second character so they can get a little bit of diversity. Yeah, if you want to just keep it straight up damage, and Gaz's aura acts as the other character on the wall, right? Because he's giving you a whole nother innate ability for a combination. That's how you should be thinking it. Gaz and the 20-man unit of Snagas are going to work cohesively together on the battlefield. But you do have that one individual 10-man unit. Of course, 20-man unit most likely has a Follow Me Lad get on the field. So you just chuck it, run. Disembarking from a battle wagon. We have 2 trucks, 2 battle wagons. Like I said, they have all the war gear equipped, but the standout things here is both of them had Ard Case, and both of them had the Zap guns. I like people using the Zap guns because if it goes off, awesome damage, quick dice rolls, run the Zap gun. 1-man unit of Flash Kits. I like to stick on a couple more if I can on my list, but that's just me. 2 units of Gretchen. I like that because you can actually fill out your backfield. One little tip or little idea here, right, that we get from my boy Russell Graham Russell, is if you took both of these 2 10-man units of Grats and you just combine them together, you could put that as your backfield objective holder. It also screens you very well, and you can kind of call the horde out of your enemy. Yet at the same time, having 2 little units of Gretchen, you can use them for secondaries, the second one. Then you have a 1 unit of Mega Knobs with twin kill saws, 2 5-man units of Knobs, and 2 5-man units of Storm Boys. So he still has the SWAT team combination possibility here with sticking one of the Flash Kits alongside the Knobs and the vehicle. SWAT teams are just utterly beautiful, reliable. If that Wrecker crew from that kill team kit, if that thing comes out and it actually works as a 6-man unit, that can end up being a really good SWAT team combination. SWAT teams might even become more viable in this. So my favorite part of this list is definitely Gaz alongside a 20-man unit of Beast Snaggle Boys popping out of a battle wagon. I love to see that, and I think there's more likely to see that in the future as we go forward. So let's take a look at Jasper's path to victory so we can see what this worked well into, what he had to go through as you might be going into this in the future. As we know, 20-man unit of Snaggle Boys are going to be where it's at, you gets, right? How many of you are with me? If Snaggle Boys are where it's at, we got a Snaggle Boy emoji in the chat. So if you're a member, but go ahead and use a Snaggle Boy emoji in chat if you think Snaggle Boys are going to be where it's at. So starting off right off the bat, he got the Gene Stealer cults. We do know that Gene Stealers at least are now getting a points decrease because this is in the past when this happened last week. Now the points came out today, so we know this will only get stronger because he does have 2 abominants, Biophage, Kellamorph, Patriarch, Reductus Saboteur, and Ascinctus. He has a variety of the characters, some for the Devil and Potential, the Praetarch for he's kind of like their Broodlord, I believe, from if I remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of battle line. I'm not going to go through all the varieties because, you know, if you know them, then you know them. If you don't, you don't. 2 units of aberrants. So these aberrants actually did come down in points. And from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, what they did, GW did that was really interesting is they said, okay, if you're going to bring a big unit of this, you get a discount on it. If you're bringing a small unit, you're paying full price for this unit. If GW continues to do that, I think that's a good way to make units cheaper. That's something you can do on Squig Hog Boys. If GW's scared of Squig Hog Boys being too powerful, go ahead and make it so if you run them as a 3-man unit, you get them for dirt cheap, right? So they can't stack crazy combinations and you're scared of them. But that's not here or there. We got an Achilles Ridge Runner, which acts for kind of like its support system because it gives additional AP when it shoots you. And then he's running 2 10-man unit bricks of Pure Stains and then a 5-man unit. This list very much is kind of pressuring, surprisingly, for Gene Stealers, as these guys can run and kind of run into you dev wound. I think they dev wound just like the Tyranids do. Maybe not, but either way, they scout, run up ahead, and try to missile you with these guys. Then aberrants follow you in response, as aberrants are quite durable with their feel no pains, multi wounds, and great damage potential. But you can use battle wagons to kind of hold some of these guys off. They're really big units. And then you have the ability that you're disembarking, get the initiative on them, and then push them back. But of course, like I said before, Snagger Boys, a 20-man unit, getting that strength 6, you're shredding through some of these guys because they have either bad saves because they're just T3, or they're just going like the aberrants off feel no pains really for their saves. Not much to say there, as being good with GSC is very hard. Very hard. So we really don't know what was going on there. Going on to his second game, he said this guy doesn't like James Workshop, it seems. Imperial Agents, kind of just more of a meme fun list, but we'll just say what it is real quick. Avasor, 2 Inquisitors, Draxus is cool. Navigator, I just seen that model the other day. What the heck? Rogue Trader, Entourage, and the Vindicator. He has some Preachers, 3 of those units, some Rhinos, a bunch of Chimeras, Sister Emulators, big bricks of the Inquisitorial Agents, couple Sisters of Battles, the Subductors with their shields. Pretty cool. I thought it's cool that he brought a bunch of bodies. Either way, Jasper did what he should have done and put up 99 points on that. Then in the third game, he went to Space Marines. We got the Blueberries running Iron Storm. Let's keep an eye out. I wonder if these guys might do a little better. I don't think Space Marines. Did Space Marines get helped enough, guys? Chat, let me know. Did Space Marines get helped enough? Yeah, so we have Manias Kalgar, a Tech Marine. Manias Kalgar is awesome. I think he's just awesome. He's actually so cool as an epic character. I always like when epic characters are really good, but not OP. Tech Marine, we have 2 units of Assault Intercessors. I think they came up like 10 points now, so they're 90. That seems fair. A Blade Guard Veteran Squad, nice big brick. 2 Lancers, a Reaper, Infiltrators, a Redemptor Dreadnought, Repulsor Executioner, 2 Scouts, and then a Speeder and a Cladius Assassin. I'm sure that having the battle wagons and trucks helps a lot in this. Once you do cover the distance into this list, you're shredding it. Like I mentioned earlier, right? This is the list that we could talk about. If you don't know, I'll just try to summarize it real quick. If you're new, the Beast-Snaggle Boys, as you're looking at this list, the Beast-Snaggle Boys have to work together with Gaz because on the WAAAGH, you're using automatically Unbridled Carnage for critical 5+, so you can get lethal on that. You're re-rolling the hit roll for fishing that. That means that 20-man unit of Beast-Snaggle Boys, when it gets out 3, ends up moving 8, advances, and then charges, you could just hit multiple of these vehicles in this, Iron Storm vehicle parking lot list, and then just use Unbridled Carnage, and you hit multiple of these guys, and there's a good chance that if you spread your models out correctly, that you can end up killing multiple of these units, not including Gaz himself, killing several of them too. Gaz is kind of like the equalizer when it comes to something like a Redemptor Dreadnought as well. So I love to see that. Love to see that he was able to come that. I know that Iron Hands type of feeling thing used to be very, very cumbersome. You can see that it was actually as hard as win to come through with the 63-point win. Right, let me make sure I messed that right, yeah, because something like Manias Kalgar can actually hold the line with his durability, so I really like to see that he had that Manias Kalgar. You do need a little bit of melee potential on that. We don't know what the missions are. These vehicles do hit hard enough to pop your wagons, but as long as you can get up stage up, even if your wagon gets destroyed and you disembark near near a terrain piece, that just means that on your actual go turn you're already disembarked, so you can use Here We Go alongside to follow me, lads. If anything, cover more distance, or at least that's what you should be trying to do if you're getting disembarked. So shout out to them for winning that one. It's them, they're not easy because you're covering that gun line, right? You're covering that gun line distance. Thanks you guys for getting chat for the Wild Boy. Thank you, Jay Hugh, for using the Wild Boy emoji. You guys didn't care, huh? Give a shout out for the Wild Boy emoji in chat. No one wanted to hit that up. So then we go to his fourth game. Let me get some Wild Boy emojis in chat, boys. Fourth game, he's going into Chaos Space Marines with the Renegade Raiders. Keep an eye out for these guys, as I believe they did get a bit of point decreases. Or Gazworks True. You're right. Gazworks 2. Thanks, Murder Mouth. So he has Cypher. Cypher's actually pretty dope. Nobody likes that he has the old school effect, making everybody get paid additional CP. A Dark Commune, another Dark Commune, another Dark Commune. You know what this is. Master of Execution. We got Cultists, Legionnaires, Rhinos, and then, of course, triple Accursed Cultists. Be aware of this. You know this is coming. Yeah, Accursed Cultists are getting blended up by Beast Snagger Boys and War Horde. You do have to get the initiative on them, which is why we're happy to have something like Wagons. But just keep in mind, these guys can cover good distance. They're pretty fast, and they do hit hard enough to one-shot Gaz's unit, one-shot your Beast Snagger Boys. They have a good amount of volume. They get a bunch of different stacking buff ability for how they hit. So you do have to be aware of Accursed Cultists if you haven't played them before. If you're going to a tournament, I do suggest you do research on them. They play very samey. It's just an archetype, but it is very punchy, and it is actually a fun game to get through. So in this matchup, having so many vehicles does help, as well as these guys are big units. They don't have shooting to disembark you. Therefore, you just have to move up and not get wrapped, right? Because you get wrapped, you get trapped. So you do need something like a Gas to be near your wagon so he can heroic. Yet just know that he has the potential to die, just like your Death Killer Wartrike does as well. But you can also just roll good enough to not get wrecked in that too. Easier said than done, right? Easier said than done. So Dark Commune isn't going anywhere. You guys should be aware of that matchup if that archetype if you play it more, if you go to events more. So he got 81 points on that. Good shout out to there. Now we have to look at his one loss. This was a one loss that he had, and he went into the person who ended up winning the event. So it's no shame, nothing to be ashamed of. But we do have to look at the Tyranids invasion fleet, and he called this list Feel No Brain, 5 up, Feel No Pain. Yes, that's exactly how the list worked, and I'll give you a little insight to that. I don't know if this list will take off because it is backbreaking. Literally, it is hard to actually pull off time wise, so I don't think you're gonna have to worry about this archetype in your meta, but I'll still go over some of the things so you can know what it's doing. We have a Turvagon with adaptive biology. That's for the 5 up, Feel No Pain. We have the Winged Hive Tyrant that allows you to put units back into Deep Strike. The Winged Hive Tyrant, for most cases, is because you want to spread the synapse range, so you want to be able to fly up there, stage up. If he has to fight, he fights, but he's also fast enough to stage up position and be safe. You have a Hormagaunt unit. Then, of course, you have a Gaunt Carpet, is what people would call this. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Termagants, not caring about Call the Horde. The surprising thing here was actually the Spine Fist. I'll go over the data sheets in a second, guys. We have a Biovore, 3 Exocrines, because Exocrines are fantastic value. Who wouldn't want to throw damage 3 across the battlefield and then getting rerolls in great AP, right? 2 Lictors. Lictors are fantastic. Low and ops, they fight first. They have great strength thresholds. I hate them. In theory, you hate them, right? You would hate to deal with them. 2 Tyrannofexes, 190 points right there, and then a unit of Zoanthropes, so they have them long-range missiles to go onside the Exocrines, right? So Exocrines will go, they'll shoot something, the Venomthropes, oh wait, the Venomthropes are not that, sorry, those are the Zoanthropes. Venomthropes are actually the guys with the aura to deny shooting. Sorry, that's my fault. Not deny shooting, maybe it's stealth. So yeah, that would actually go alongside these guys. And they did bring the Rupture Cannon. So the 2 Tyrannofexes are actually the anti-tank. That sucks if you have 2 battle wagons, right? And you're like, you know what would suck if someone brought 2 Tyrannofex. Oh, there they are. Oops, that sucks. So that would actually be brutal to go into. Even though Exocrines can't reliably take them down, they can choose to do lethals because this is the swarm, the Evasion Sleep Swarm. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff real quick why I think they probably chose lethals. So we have the Turvagon. So the Turvagon, I'm sorry, sustain though. They chose sustain though, because we have the Turvagon. This was their warlord with the 5 of Feel No Pain. It's a big thickie, right? With a 2+ save, 16 wounds. She's gonna have a 5 of Feel No Pain, but as adaptive biology works, as the ruling says, is that at the if you at the start of any turn, if they have lost any wounds, then that 5 of Feel No Pain becomes a 4 of Feel No Pain. So she's super thick, super tanky with that Feel No Pain. So if you do start to shoot at her and she doesn't die, she just gets a little bit more tanky. And then any gaunts within 6 inches of her get lethals, and she can regen some of those gets, of course. Right alongside with those gaunts, we've seen they have the spine fists. This is for assault. They have pistols, so they could do it in combat. So once they're in combat with you, they don't stop doing no damage at all, because of course they can't punch, right? So the spine fist makes sense because they're in combat and they're twin linked, and of course you're already getting lethal. So there's a good chance that you're choosing sustain for your army wide. She's giving you lethal, and then you're twin link re-rolling. This would actually allow you to chew through orcs, right? It would actually allow you to chew through beast snaggle boys, flash kits, stuff that doesn't have great armor saves. We get stuck in, we don't annihilate the unit then heals, because then you have endless swarm, right? Which endless multitude. So endless multitude allows you to pick 2 units that have the endless multitude keyword, which means they're battle line cheap little grublies, and they get to bring back D3+3. That's alongside the healing girl as well for her fatty healing. That means that you're healing multiple of these units at the same time, which is why you still need to retain synapse range, which is where the wing tyrant could come into play and assist with that. And then you have skulking horrors. If you move with the 9 of them, as of course the orcs will do, these guys can move D6 as well, so they can end up overlapping each other in ways that you can't charge multiple of these units. You only charge one, and then that makes the other ones more alive, and they can kind of control the rate of attrition in that way by controlling what units are more forward and not. Say that they want to heal a unit and not allow it to get killed. If it falls back, someone else moves into the way, then you get closer to punch it, then a reactive moves a little closer, right? It could be annoying. And then the wing tyrant prime. This allows you with 1 friendly unit within 12. They can use a stratagem for -1 CP. That matters for like adrenal surge right here, which is 2 can get critical 5+. So that means now the Tyranids can the gaunts can get critical 5+, and it's actually up to 2 Tyranid units. So as long as there's synapse range, that's why the wing tyrant is most likely brought to expand the synapse range, because fat girl can't do it everywhere, and you're going to be charging off onto objectives and things. Therefore, you need this kind of overlapping field of synapse range. That's where this boy would actually help, because then adrenal surge, as he's giving synapse out, he's reducing their CP as well, so they can actually use that stratagem and get the ability to actually hit a little bit harder. So I think that's pretty cool. Overall, that list is something that, like I said, I don't think that you're going to have to worry about at your local game shop. It is back breaking, and people don't really think they'll be able to do it, but it is a little bit surprising as people don't want to bring hordes anymore, yet hordes are still slowly finding their way through. So does that mean Green Tide could too? I think if they get just a little bit more love, they definitely could. I don't think boys coming down 5 points is enough, but I think we could still hold the ground like on teams and stuff. So shout out to him for losing to that one. Cool Tyranid list. Kind of surprised he didn't have Maliceptors, but I'm sure you can't fit him on the list for that many points. Then he went to his last game. His last game was into Chaos Demons. You know what feels great into Chaos Demons? Beast Snagger Boys with gas, re-rolling the hit rolls against units that literally just have a 4-up influence, essentially. So you're just blending them. Love to see that. So he has, and of course, he has 2 beast bosses, right, guys? 2 beast bosses on this list. He has the Great Unclean One with Endless Gifts for the 4-up Feel No Pain, another Fat Boy, and then Radagus, followed by 2 units of Nurglings, a Plague Bear, Beast of Nurgle, 2 units of Plague Drones, and then 3 War Dog Brigands. I played against something like this. It's very actually, it's just consistently. So one thing I would say here is I think the allied units, what would be better off is you just play Soul Grinders, as they have a 4-up invuln, and they have indirect fire. That's a little bit better. So this list could even be a little more potent. That being said, what is this list doing other than the fat boy with the Feel No Pain obviously walking into the middle of the table, right? So the Great Unclean Ones can actually do the Russian nesting doll ability where Fat Boy goes up into the middle for the Feel No Pain. Most likely you're not going to one-shot it. Therefore, they're going to end up dropping within range of each other for other Fat Boys to come in off the battlefield. Rodriguez, being the name Fat Boy, gives you reduced objective control, and he can choose one of his Great Unclean Ones or another Nurgle unit to give +1 damage to, so they can actually do damage and not just be turds. So that's kind of annoying. That's why a Soul Grinder becomes even more potent. The Nurglings work really well because they can advance and shoot. Their infiltration, they create space so Fat Boys and other things can drop and rushing nesting doll you, which is very annoying. Plague Bearers, great, sticky objective. Their battle line, 2 OC, T5, 2 wounds, very durable. And then Beasts of Nurgles, they can keep healing themselves. These Plague Drones are really annoying to come in from 6 inches on you as well. And when they poop on you, it allows unit, I believe when they poop on you, like they're shooting, it allows units to re-roll the wound rolls. I might be forgetting, it's been a bit, but so this list is surprisingly, and these guys are like T7, T8. So you guys are surprisingly durable. I think the only thing that makes this list even more potent is if you remove these allies and bring a bunch of soul grinders, then that becomes like really, really annoying list to deal with. That being said, though, having these tools and going first, having the beast bosses, having Gaz, and the wagons to kind of run them down and stuff and safely approach them really does matter, because when they do come to you, you can end up just straight up erasing multiple of these Great Unclean Ones. You leave the fat on this gift guy alone for a little bit as to deal with the other guys. And you can kill multiple of these guys in one turn. I've done it. It's just a part of it. It's really about executing it, though, as the Orc player. So if you don't execute this one shirt WAAAGH turn with the War Horde, then you might not really come up with this and overcome this list. This Nurgle Demons style of list. So shout out to Jasper Blisky, because that was an awesome run. I actually like a lot of those lists that you went into. I really liked your list overall. It felt really nice to see, and I think it's already a glimpse into the future of putting Gaz with 20-man units of Beast Snaggle Boys. If you're not thinking about battle wagons, of course you can just bring a kill rig alongside for that 10-man unit. You do need, I do prefer the battle wagon still to the hunter rig, though, if you're thinking about 20-man units. Anybody out there who's wondering already. So that's just what I would say. And yes, I did go over points. That was the beginning of the video. You can go back and then come back in here, rewatch gang. All right, so now, guys, now I'll tell you what I was trying to say, allude to earlier. So this next list I'm going to show, it did only go 3 and 2. No shame to anybody who goes in 3 and 2. It's fine. The reason why I wanted to show this list is because how it's built was a little bit of a glimpse to what I think Orc players are going to be either trying to do, experimenting list, or leaning into going forward with these point changes. So yes, this player didn't end up having the performance maybe that we would strive for at a GT all the time. Yeah, he still did good overall. I still think people doing good if you have the performance as this. So nothing to be ashamed of. And I really wanted to give credence and respect to his list design. Therefore, I want to give a shout out to Michael Lee, who ended up going 3-2-1, right? 3-2-1. So he won 3 games, tied 1, and then lost 2. Which is totally fine. The whole point of here, like I said, is I just wanted to show his list because I liked his combined arms factor, and several of these units on this list already came down in points, yet they already ended up on the list together, right? So my git was looking into the future already. He's a weird boy at heart. So let's take a look at Michael Lee's Dread Mob list. He has a Gazgul Thraka, a Beast Boss in his Dread Mob list, 3 Big Macs with shock attack guns, 1 with Gift Finder goggles, 1 with Smoky Gubbins. Of course, these guys came down 10 points when they were already pretty awesome. So GW was at least cared a little bit, and they noticed we liked Ludas and shock attack guns. I like that. Thank you, by the way, GW. That was nice. 1 unit of Beast Snaggle Boys, 2 10-man units of boys, followed by 4 units of MSU Grats, 3 bricks of Ludas, 1 of them having custom Mega Blasters on the Spanners, the other 2 having rockets on the Spanners, 3 Mega Knobs for his Gazgul, right? This is what I mean. Now that the Mega Knobs came down, maybe people will start bringing 3, right? Because killing 2 is a little too easy sometimes. Then he brought a Death Dread. He was ahead of the game, boys. A Death Dread. Of course, he only brought 4 arms. I think he was kind of the idea of I'm going to stick to what they're good at. Their data sheet wants to be in combat. I'm going to bring him up from Ingress, and he's going to punch damage 3, right? Why not? A kill rig. Yes, he put the kill rig on the dread mob you get, and then he has the 3 mech guns with smasher guns. Of course, that goes right alongside the big mech with shock attack gun with smoky gubbins. I do like that combination. It erases certain units, specifically Terminator style units, custodian style units, and you actually have a chance to reach out and blow away enemy vehicles as long as you're willing to spend 2 CP. You could end up failing, right? You could end up failing, but that's where the kill rate comes into play. Drops another auto hitting las cannon in there, right? Hopefully. Hopefully. And then 2 trucks. So he still had the points for the 2 trucks. I assume the boys were in the trucks. But there's a good chance that you could end up putting Ludas in the trucks with the shock attack guns, and you can end up taking those guys and kind of getting different angles of fire to get objectives and to keep the truck safe and your Luda safe. Maybe the units or armies are really fast. They can cover the distance and charge you, and you don't have enough units to screen them. Or you don't feel safe trying to screen them, or you're having a hard time seeing a whole enemy unit because it's a small model, let's say a Catan, right? Then maybe you need to be in a truck so you can get better line of sight. So let's take a look real quick at Michael Lee's path to victory. We'll see if these are going to be reoccurring problems as we faked out of the points changed, or if we can take this list to heart and give it some hope for the future. So we have an Adeptus Custodes. What did I just say about the mech guns? Those mech guns in this lineup, you're like, you guys are in trouble. So we have Blade Champion, Shield Captain with Castellan Mark, and a Shield Captain. We have 2 units of 5 Guardians, 2 units of 3 Terminators, a Gravis tank, a Warden unit, a Venatari unit for that turn 1 ingress. Witch Seekers, we got 2 units of Witch Seekers. Of course, so they do actually have that 1 Gravis tank, but like I said before, you get right. If you're playing Dread Mob and you want to play with your walkers or you want to play with your big units, a lot of the time you don't have anything that can reach out and stop you from just straight up them just like an anti-tank or a shooting platform just sitting in their deployment zone and shooting at you. That's where the mech guns can actually come into play and threaten that sort of unit, so they have to respect you alongside if they move on to an objective, because let's say they want to park on their own home objective freely and just shoot at you. That's where either the looters can go into play or the big mech going into play in that. So it actually helps to have that, not just for picking up units like the Guardians. Of course, I would even be inclined most likely in this matchup to reserve those mech guns, try to get them onto the Wardens, and then try to bait out that Feel No Pain Warden ability, right? Bait it out in the shooting phase if I can. If not, then I'll just beat you up in the wall. And then, if you do use it, in the shooting phase, then I beat you up in the wall. If you don't pop it in the shooting phase, then I definitely just destroy those Wardens with those mech guns. They do excellent to units like that. Having so many bodies would definitely help in that custodian matchup too. Having MSU being able to fill up the table, stop those guys from just running into you and deep striking you. Having the Death Dread in this case with those claws could have been actually really clutch for that flat 4 damage to go on several of these units. And custodians, their units want to be on the objectives. They do not have armor of contempt. That means they are beautiful bait for the Ludas. So this would be a great matchup in some ways for Michael Lee. Like to see that. Then we go into his second game. He went into the Dark Angels, and this was an inner circle task force. We have Azrael, Bilal, and Lionel Johnson. I believe Lionel Johnson came a good amount of points down, right? We have a big unit of tactical squads, 1 Deathwing Knight unit, a big fat unit of Terminator brick. I lied. Those are 2 just 5-man units of Terminators. Hellblaster squad, 2 Land Raiders, both of them with the Godhammer las cannons, and a scout squad. Very elite unit set up right here because he's playing in a circle between a bunch of Terminators. One good tip that I got, was if you really want to get around armor of contempt, guess what? You have Ludas, and they're going to overwatch when these guys go on objectives. A lot of the time, people are going to be sticking things like Deathwing Knights on objective. Set up your Ludas to be looking at the objectives, win those guys, get on those objectives, and simply move. or they want to charge into your responding units, you overwatch them, you've ignored their armor of contempt, and you can actually get them to a 3-whip save. Of course, you have rockets for this, so you can actually take advantage of blast and flat 3 damage for like these basic Deathwing Terminators. If not, the custom Mega Blasters, you're enjoying the D6 damage and hoping you can kill them through their reduced damage, of course. You do have to be weary of the Hell Blasters, as they will shoot you back quite potently. But these Godhammer, Las Cannon, Land Raiders aren't really getting much value on this list, because it's really just like 2 trucks and then a bunch of, oh, he has 1 kill rig, but you can hide 1 kill rig. 1 kill rig you can hide. And as I spoke of before, you know, there's a chance, it's not 100% likely reliably, but your Met Gun could actually respectfully destroy a Land Raider if you pop the 2 CP and he has a shock attack gun attached to it. Not to mention that even if they are going to pop Armor of Contempt, you could destroy these Deathwing Knights, these basic Terminators, Deathwing Terminators, because they don't have reduced damage with the Smasher guns as well. It does great into them with -3 AP. And this might even be a matchup where you might consider just putting the ignore cover 1 on the Smasher guns. So you could just straight blend through them. But they have invuln, so it's not really necessary. That'd be more if you're trying to target the Land Raiders. So it's cool just to have so many options and ways to really take out those units. And of course, having so many Gretchen and boys for that early game, these guys have to end up on, the enemy has to end up on objectives. So when they come to clear you off the objectives with these elite bricks and start to play the mission, then you start to overwatch with your actual value units and you start to kill them. Love to see it. Love that. I like how this worked out, because then you have Gaz coming in again as a response. Will this work in the future though, guys? Right? Because he still has the kill rig on here. Let's see what he lost to though, because he then takes his 3rd game and he loses to the Tau Empire, right? And like I said, when I looked into this, when we were talking about the point changes and stuff, is, you know, a lot of these changes already benefited us with War Horde, and something like Tau, you know, already kind of dealt with War Horde in its own way, where it was really much player, mission. But these aren't going to be new tools. Your Snaggers already went off. Your kill rigs being cheaper will feel better, but they can already get blown up. So let's see. We have a Commander Farsight, 2 commanders in Coalstar battle suits, and a commander in Enforcer suit. We have 3 units of these by 3 stealth battle suits. Man, that's what I'm saying. Commandos matter so much in this kind of thing, right? And even something like a Zod unit wouldn't mind running straight into these stealth suits. We have a Krutox Rider, Crisis, Fire Knife battle suits, and then a Star Scythe battle suits. 3 of those. Oh goodness. And then a bunch of Sunforge battle suits, followed by Ghost Kill battle suits, and then 2 Hammerhead gunships and 3 Piranhas. This is just a boatload of units that are just in a paper death by 1,000 cuts with their firepower, which is exactly, I think, the best way to run Tau, especially with that he actually took the stealth suits to go further. And the Piranha is actually a really nice touch. Really surprised he didn't bring more transports on this, but why would you need to when you have so many suits that have so much mobility and ability, you know, death from 1,000 cuts going on here. This is a retaliation cadre, so he's looking to do damage with retaliation. This is, you know, we would need to know the mission. We would need to know how the terrain looked, I guess, and the layout for that would matter a lot too. But all in all, right, when you're going into Tau, if you go first, if you go second, that matters a lot. And if you have commandos and or Zod, that really does matter a lot, guys. Not necessarily going to win or lose you the game. Exactly, you still have to play correctly. But even something like a Death Killer War Trike, and this is a Dread Mob. Excuse me, I was saying War Horde. Dread Mob, you know, something like a Death Killer War Trike with the field no pain from War Horde would be nice. But in Dread Mob, you don't have anything to cover the distance like that. So you're kind of in a shootout now with Tau, right? And if you're a shooting army going into another shooting army and they shoot better than you, how do you counteract that? Well, you get combat involved or you get pressure involved. Well, you don't really have any pressure when it's just kill rigs and duff treads, things that came down in points, but that aren't really helping offset this sort of matchup. That's where commandos coming down did help, but you could argue they need to come down a little more for matchups like this, at least in the perspective of an orc player. So shout out to him for that. That's, you know, getting shot off the table doesn't feel good, but it happens. And Tau are sometimes only as good as their pilot. So if the pilot did good, it happens. We have this 4th game real quick. We're going to go over with Adeptus Sororitas with the Penitent Host. So that's a bit different. He has Morgan Vol, the Triumph, and then some priests, Palatine, 2 big bricks of Arcoflagellants, and then a 3-man unit of Flagellants, Repentia unit, a Seraphim unit, a Paragon Warsa unit, Cladius Assassin, and some Subductors, 2 Penitent Engines, and then 2 Rhinos. This could be where Sisters end up going now, but I think that's not going to happen until the Bringers of Flame comes down a little bit more. Overall, I have seen the Penitent Host be used before, and it seemed kind of solid. So he did lose that one. Pretty harsh loss. Sisters are just really effective and have a lot of units. He and a lot of those Miracle Dives. Then his 5th game, we have... This is where he had his tie, where he went to the Space Marines. This is where, shout out to this guy. I had to deal with another Orks. So this is the same guy, John Piro, who went into the other Orc player that we went over with Jasper. And Jasper, this was his lowest scoring win. And now we have our boy here trying to deal with them as well, with Michael Lee trying to deal with the same Space Marine player with Malnius Calgar, a Tech Marine, 2 units of Assault Intercessors with jump hacks, a big blick of Blade Guard veterans, 2 Gladiator Lancers, a Reaper, an Infiltrator Squad, a Redemptor Dreadnought, Repulsor Executioner, 2 Scouts, a Storm Strike Speeder, and a Cladius Assassin. So we've seen that this list already went to another Orc player who ended up getting 6 at this event, and he barely beat this guy. Not barely, but it was a low-scoring win against this guy. So for my get here, Michael to tie this player, was actually very respectful, because this guy already proved his worth going into his prior opponents, and he had to deal with Orcs already. So this guy had to deal with double Orc players. So shout out to John Piro for having to deal with the whoa and getting stuck in. Well, I guess he doesn't get stuck in because he's a gun line, but we got stuck into him with Michael Lee. So I appreciate that. It is cool that Dreadmob actually has the weapons to kill some of these guys at range and not have to deal with the Cladius Assassins kind of, increasing the cost of the stratagems like it would do with War Horde. If you're trying to cover the distance on this, then you're like, oh man, am I going to get my increase here? Luckily, we can do it from further away and end up killing people. But all in all, liked this... I like that Michael ended up pulling out that tie at least, because that's just a strong gun line when you see one, right? Strong gun line when you see one. So let's go into his last matchup. Sorry, I went over there. Last matchup, he went into World Eaters, where he had Angron, Karn the Betrayer, 3 units of Jackals, 1 big brick of Zerkers for Karn, 1 Rhino for Karn, 2 units of basic 8-pound, 2 units of Spawn, a Mauler Fiend, a World Eater's Terminator Brick, and a Bloodletter. So Bloodletters actually do hit pretty hard coming out of reserve, but that's more of a fun pick. Mauler Fiends feel cool if you have shooting, because if you blooded someone, if you hurt them, then you get additional like +2 to your charge. You can come from reserve for like a 7-inch charge from deep strike or reserve, for the Mauler Fiend. So that can be a cool factor. These Terminators just cost too much, and they're very, very soft. Even they're fast and they can kind of hit kind of hard. But all in all, something like a Smasher Gun unit, as soon as Smasher Gun unit sees this, don't be surprised if you pick up like 7 of them, no problem. Or, no problem. So yeah, World Eaters would just have a lot of hard time actually getting value from this unit in this sort of matchup, because our boy does have all those grots to kind of set him up. Then he can just bait him with something like a Death Dread to go try to clean him up. Kill Rigs actually shooting him even if he moves and getting those las cannon free shots off. And then when the Jackals go down objectives and all these little units, even the 8-bound try to get around the battlefield, if they try to charge you off objectives and they get killed in response from the Ludas very quickly, and then you kind of get to run around the field and go, okay, well, here's 10 more grots to stand in the objective after your Jackal sticky it. Killed everybody away. Okay, here's 10 more grots in the objective, even after you sticky it. And then when you can, if you can, ignore Angron. But when it's time to go, at least in Dreadmob, you have a chance to kill Angron when it's time to go. Easier said than done. World Eater still taking them down does take some skill. So he got a 50-point win there. Well, not the highest scoring win, but you got to respect World Eaters when you got to deal with them. War Horde, I usually feel really confident into World Eaters because you can fight on death and stuff like that. Try to offset their really eliteness and kind of get good trades out of them. Yeah, in Dreadmob, you're really just dealing with their pressure and you're trying to shoot, which is what they kind of want to have to deal with. They want you to be on the back foot. So Great win back there. So shout out to my boy Michael Lee, because he took a glimpse into the future and has a bit combined factor going on here that more orc players might lean into. Now, do I think more orc players are going to be playing around death treads? Not necessarily, to be honest. I think death treads still cost too much. But are people going to try to incorporate kill rigs into other detachments because they're simply too cheap and because it was already a great combo? Yes. Is it going to go on your dread mob? Not sure. It could be based off your collection, right? Let's say you don't have a fully fledged out dread mob yet. It could behoove you to actually attempt this. At least the kill rig gives the firepower that's complementary to the other dread mob style units if you were to run them. So shout out to Michael Lee and shout out to the orc players that had a great standing and this weekend and at least went out there and get stuck in, lads. So with all that being said, let's hear what you guys got to say real quick. Nobody can say nothing different with the chat. Okay, it seems like a thank you to everybody who got stuck in here. I appreciate all the compliments. You guys are lovely, and it helps and it keeps us motivated and keeps us excited for the future. Oh, my boy, Alan Yu. I almost missed you, buddy. How'd I almost miss mine get? What's up, Alan Yu? Whoa, for Alan, 6 month membership flex, my get. He said, my two factions, Orcs and Black Templars, widely different in points. Yeah, they actually kind of got hurt, brought down to reality. And Orcs got up. Wait, we got up, boys. Overall, I liked it. Really nice to see. And then Brandon saying, what about 3 dread mobs with 3 dreads with 3 mechs? Watch a video about what I feel about that. I don't think 10 points changes my opinions on that, but we all like the nuke, right? The nuke dread that wants to blow himself up with custom mega blasters. Thanks to you guys in chat. Thanks, Wall. So you guys remember, if you haven't yet, go to the Discord, send me a picture of your army, right? Mostly painted and set up. That's what we're doing for October. Instead of our paint competition, we're doing just showing off people's armies. I think it's just going to be really a lot of energy, people getting excited from each other's armies and getting stuck in talking about what is to come for the future. We do have future content that is being planned so we can get further stuck in and expand the channel. So thank you guys for supporting and that are helping us. Please leave a like or subscribe, because even the orcs have been struggling doesn't mean that we have to. Right, guys? So with all that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind, is don't cross our wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!